Collins. I'm Chantal. I'm the Director of Marketing at Demandwell. And today we're switching things up with Sustainable Growth Weekly. We have a non-Demandwell person on the call who's here to teach us about SEO. I'm so excited to have Camille here. Camille, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm Camille. I'm actually based in Rotterdam, so it's evening here. And I work for a B2B SaaS company here. We sell e-commerce, and I've been the SEO lead for a little over 2 years now. And before that, I was a content marketing specialist with kind of like a big interest in SEO. So yeah, that's a little bit about me and my background.
Awesome. And then Eric, please. Sorry that your picture's not on here, but
I'm Eric. I'm a marketing manager here at Demandwell. I do all the SEO for us internally.
fantastic. So we have two SEO experts on the call. I am obviously not on that list. All right, let's dive in. So I just want to say for everyone listening, we hope that you ask a ton of questions today because Camille is here. She is kind of the resident community expert on SEO who's going to be talking about her program. And we have questions lined up for her, but please, as they come up, like drop them in the chat or ask them in the Q&A. We really want this to be a super collaborative session. So, Camille, why don't you give us a little bit of background on your company, first of all, just so that everyone has a sense of what it is and what you do going in.
Yeah, for sure. My company, Sonic Commerce, we're a B2B SaaS company, and we sell e-commerce mainly to manufacturers, distributors, and wholesalers. So we're very much in the B2B sphere. And yeah, the company is about 500 people, and we have locations around the world. And the marketing team is about mid-size. So I think that there's 40 of us now on the marketing team globally, but I'm the only SEO in the whole company, and I kind of have a dynamic role between content and digital and the product marketing team. So I kind of move between all of these teams in order to get my SEO done. So
yeah,
that's
and you kind of have to like support different projects, I imagine.
Yeah. So about half of my role is project based, and then the other half is more always on,
like evergreen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's talk a little bit more about the SEO work that you're doing and how it fits into your content marketing strategy holistically.
Yeah, good question. So the way we look at it is kind of into three parts. So you've got on-page SEO, off-page SEO, and your technical SEO. So, 2/3 of that we can handle pretty comfortably, but then the big chunk, the on-page SEO, the content SEO, we need a lot of buy-in from the content team. So that's, I would say, is probably our biggest prio, or my biggest prio, is working with the content team to constantly create content, but also kind of to help guide them on projects and love the cat. But
this is Sweetie, everyone. Sorry for the interruption.
Love it. It's the best kind of interruption. But yeah, so that's pretty much how we think about our SEO strategy into those three components. Yeah.
So do you have content marketers that are actually writing the SEO copy for you?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow,
we definitely,
that must be challenging.
Well, I think what it all comes down to is briefs. So if your brief is really clear and well organized and includes everything that they need, then I think you're setting your writers up for success. So that's kind of how we work. And then also just like constantly coaching, I think, is another big part, like being evangelist for SEO within the company and just making sure everyone is always thinking about it. That's a big part of it too.
Yeah, I can imagine it would be really important that like everyone understands why what you're asking them to do matters.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Exactly.
Otherwise they're just like, this person is always bothering me.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
No, you really, I think But for the most part, everyone is like a big team player. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's always just like explaining the importance and also being able to show the impact as well.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. So for your on-page strategy, we have talked on these SG weeklies a lot about keyword clusters, and how important they are to drive an impact with SEO. Are you using keyword clusters today, and how are you using them?
Yeah, that is, I think, the main component of our on-page strategy, to be honest. And it took a while for us to kind of fine tune it. I think when we first started this, we were doing kind of just like general keyword groups based on like the term. So for example, e-commerce SEO, like that was just kind of like one of our groups. But then the more we started doing it, the more we realized like, we can actually find better labels and better homes for all of our keywords. So now we kind of have it broken into a cluster by pain points. That's a big one that we've been working on a lot lately. So really trying to come up with keyword groups around specific problems that our customers have. Another group would be like integration terms. So what our product integrates with, because yeah, we can imagine that our customers are looking for this. We also
Mhm.
have groups by competitors, by like synonym terms. So what we
Yeah.
hear our customers often call our products,
Mhm.
and solution terms. So yeah, we have like a few key clusters that we operate in. Yeah.
Wow. That's fantastic. So just to spin it all back and summarize it, you kind of started off by covering your bases on sort of like the bottom of funnel, like this is exactly what we do kind of stuff. And then you've branched out a lot. You're now including like integrated partners and integration terms, and then also like other ways that prospects and customers describe you. Additionally, I
Yeah.
lost my train of thought.
No, that's it exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. So I guess like oh yeah, if you have all these different topic clusters, how are you linking either between the clusters or within a cluster?
Yeah. This is another thing that we've really paid close attention to because, yeah, we really believe in the power of internal linking. So within each cluster, we have a pillar page, and this pillar page will typically cover all of the topics within one cluster. And then from that page, we link to all the sub pages that we create and vice versa. So everything is passing like relevant linking juice, and we pay special attention to like the anchor text. So always making sure that it's not the exact keyword that we're targeting the page for, but it's related and highly relevant.
So how many pages would you say that you have in a cluster on average? I'm sure it varies by topic, but do you have a
Yeah.
guess?
Well, one cluster has, just a handful, to be honest, like 3 or
Yeah.
4, but then another cluster has kind of like spun off into this like cluster monster, and it's got
Yeah.
like it's like 5 subgroups and then like a couple subgroups. So yeah, it really
Wow.
depends, but I would say anywhere from 3 to 4 pages to
Mhm.
15 sometimes, depending on the
Okay,
topic. But yeah, we
cool.
we try to keep it all organized. I think that's also
Mhm.
a key tip, to keep it organized.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Has it ever been?
Chantal,
Oh, go ahead, Eric.
I just want to chime in because we also have a cluster monster, I guess. I don't know if you're all that aware, but
Somebody
uh,
coined this term,
yeah.
please.
And we wanted to tackle content just like as a group, and originally we broke that into 3 clusters of 30 different keywords each,
Mhm.
but we have more content than just that.
Yeah,
um
yeah,
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 I definitely know what you're talking about, where you want to tackle this really broad um area of focus in your business, and you just have to chunk it out
yeah.
and tackle it one bit at a time. we
Yeah.
broke it down into like content marketing, content strategy, blanking on,
Planning, right?
but yeah, you get the idea. Just
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Melinda has a really good question for you, Camille, in the chat about how you keep everything organized.
Excel.
Okay.
No, Excel, to be completely honest, like Excel and SEMrush, those two.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
do you have an Excel sheet that's like I'm imagining that it's like a single sheet and all of your clusters are like have their own column kind of, and it's like the core term and then all the links, or what does it look like?
Yeah, so it is a single sheet, but then we have different tabs per cluster. And I have got a column for topic and then also a column for subtopic in case it ever includes like a crossover. Like for example, we have a term on efficiency, but the keyword kind of also can be covered in one of our integration terms. So there's a little bit of crossover and that would go into like a subtopic. And then, yeah, I also have like the target keyword, URL, et cetera, et cetera. So kind of build it out one cluster per tab. But yeah,
Awesome. Awesome. And then are you doing any linking between your clusters, or do you believe in that generally?
I go back and forth on it
Okay.
because there's like one part of my brain that's like, no, then it's going to get messy and confusing. And then there's another part of my brain it's all about the relevancy. So if it is relevant, then it probably is, fine to link across clusters. So
Yeah.
we do it from time to time. Yeah, where it makes
I
sense.
could see like the integration pages specifically being really relevant for that, because it's like if you're solving a specific pain point with an integration or something, that could go to a pain point cluster, or like if it's a sort of solution oriented thing, then I could see that making a lot of sense.
Yeah, that is 100% what happens. Yeah.
We have another question in the chat for you from Philippa. With instances where we have these cluster monsters, there may be pieces of content with fairly similar keywords that you're trying to target individually. What are your tips for avoiding repetition and providing useful information without having 2 pages tell the same story? Fantastic question.
It is
Take it away, Camille.
literally, yes, such a good question. We've dealt with this so many times. It's crazy. And yeah, to be honest, a lot of it has to do with just being patient and time and, seeing what works. So for example, we might publish a page, and if we have a feeling that there might be another similar keyword that is relevant, then we'll kind of wait for the original page to start ranking and see what it pulls in to see if it's really worth creating content on the similar keyword. Because sometimes it just takes time to understand if it's really a good keyword to target, or if it's just, icing on the cake, or a semantic keyword or something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Has there ever been an example when you've had 2 pages kind of competing for similar topics?
Yes. Yeah. Especially in
It
a niche
happens
market.
accidentally all the time, right?
Yeah. And when
Yeah.
you're working in a niche market, it's really, really difficult because, yeah, no matter what SEO tool you use, like SEMrush, Ahrefs, Moz, you're never going to get like full visibility on your keywords, especially not in Search Console. You know, like you're never actually going to see every single keyword that's bringing in traffic to your website. So I think that makes it a little bit more difficult in a niche market to really understand. And that's where the pain point clustering has really come in handy, because we're starting to rank for terms and find things that customers were searching for that we never would have, focused on. Yeah.
That's super interesting. Can you say a little bit more about that? Maybe with like some examples?
Yeah. So for example, yeah, we were getting really stuck in some specific clusters and we weren't really sure how to branch out anymore without cannibalizing on like a keyword within the clusters. So yeah, we started this pain point project and redid a whole bunch of customer interviews, and we're really listening for what their actual pain is so that way we could try and branch into, yeah, something new. And we discovered a whole bunch of like new terms that they were discussing and new problems, and that kind of like led us into our whole new angle and way that we look at how we market our product. So
Mhm.
yeah.
So say, for example, like if Demand Well were writing a bunch of content about like content creation software or something, and then we kind of like exhaust that cluster of terms, but then we started to create content around like streamlining copywriting or something. That's like a different angle at the same sort of topic, but it's like a new set of terms.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah. And
That's
then,
really cool.
yeah. And then like how we approach the content on those pages is completely different to how we approach the content on other pages. So the content on these pages is way more based around the pain point. So we tackle it from like a pain point, agitate, solution perspective. Whereas in another group, we might try to educate the audience more, and it's just a different approach. So yeah,
Mhm.
but that's it exactly, essentially.
Cool. How much content are you creating in a quarter or in a year? Do you know?
Not enough. Not
Okay.
enough.
I
Oh,
think we could all say not enough, probably, everyone on the phone.
yeah. Oh man. But yeah, we try. So we have like a pretty hefty content library already. So we do about 2-page optimizations per week. And this could be anywhere from like a full rewrite to, just optimizing for the keyword or optimizing the title tag and meta. And then new content, we aim for about 1 new piece a week. But yeah, it's never enough. I wish
Oh,
we could do
totally.
2 times that, 3 times, 4 times. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the sky's the limit, but at the same time though, like 50 new pages a year and constantly updating your existing content, like that's still a lot more than, you know, like that's kind of what we recommend to customers of like, at the bare minimum, you need to create 50 pages a week because that's actually like the thing that we see. That's the threshold where results start coming. Like more is always better. But if you have 50, you're going to be making progress. So I think that's
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it also depends a lot on what your competitors are doing. So
Hmm.
we set this benchmark based on our competitors. So yeah, that was kind of our baseline.
How did you find the number that your competitors were publishing?
SEMrush.
Okay, interesting. Good to
Yeah.
know. That's
Yeah.
very cool. And
Yeah.
did you look at like how often they're creating new pages, or was it based on the number of total pages that they had?
Good question. Um,
I'm like, Eric, we need to go do this.
yeah,
I
I think,
feel
You're gonna be
like I've
horrified.
heard about this before, but I've never done it.
Yeah.
yeah, it would pop up in like regular audits. So I think that you
Hmm.
could see new keywords that they are ranking for, and
Hmm.
then also you could see new pages that had been added. So that's one
Okay.
way. But there was one point where I had alerts, like Google alerts set up.
Hmm.
And
Oh,
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that makes perfect sense. Cool. Okay. So then as you're like thinking about what content to create, and also as you're thinking about what content to re-optimize, like how are you deciding what topics to go after and which to re-optimize? And then how is that content actually getting like created and across the finish line?
Yeah, good question. So we do a monthly audit, and in the audit that will cover, like I handle the more content keyword side of things, and then my colleague helps with the technical audit. And then in the content aspect of the audit, I look for all like position changes on our keywords, and I'll especially look at low-hanging fruit. So that would be any keyword that had a position change in the top 3. And then I also look at any keyword that had a position change in the top 10, and then keywords with position change in the top 20. And I kind of approach each group differently. So if you had a change in the top 3, we'll do a quick analysis to see why that is. If you increase, we'll do a CTR check to see, okay, is this title and meta the best it can be, or can we do anything to, quickly capitalize on position 1 here? But if it's top 10 and it's improved in ranking, we'll see, okay, is there anything extra that we can do to get it up there even more for the next month? And same for top 20 if it's improved. And then if you take that kind of like pyramid and flip it, anything that's decreased will do the same, have the same approach. What can we do to get you back up? So that's the approach to optimizations. And yeah, typically I handle most of the optimizations just because you never know if it's going to be like a quick task or a full rewrite. So I'll pretty much just like pick all those up myself because it saves time on the briefing. And then for any new content, that will also be either prioritized based on the cluster that we're working on, or based on any new keywords that we find that we want to rank for. Yeah, yeah.
I really
And
I just want to chime in. I really like the idea of looking at both positive and negative trends in keyword rankings when deciding content for optimization work. Because I've noticed with some of our content, we've had really positive trends for some pages. And then for whatever reason, it'll start trending downwards again. And, you know, it's difficult to keep track of everything. And, you know, looking at trends will just give you a good summary of what's the most important things to tackle.
yeah, for sure. And I don't know if anyone else has this issue, but we have a glossary in our website with terms pages. And ever since about a year and a couple months ago, there was a core update or an algorithm update, and the terms pages started ranking like crazy. And they get a lot of traffic and a lot of volume, but they're so fickle, like they like fluctuate in position from month to month. And we've tried so many things to keep them stable so that way our organic traffic isn't all over the place. But we have pages like that. So that's also kind of why we like want to look at the increase and decrease to figure out, okay, how much of this is impacting total organic traffic as well. So yeah.
It's so smart. It's such a good reminder that like the search engine is an ever evolving thing. And so is the way that people search. And I also love that you're thinking about it from, I mean, it sounds like you're thinking about it from both a page perspective and also a keyword perspective. So it's like, how has this page's ranking ability changed over time? But then are you also looking at it from like, how are we doing ranking for this keyword? It's kind of the same question if you have the right page ranking for the right keyword, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and that's another thing that we'll look at, but it's not on a monthly basis. So yeah, we'll
Mhm.
definitely like reevaluate pages to see if they're still pulling in the right rankings or if they're pulling in something new that we could rank for. But that's more on like a quarterly basis because ain't nobody got time for all of that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Philippa has a really good question in the chat again. More quality is high it out. How do you prioritize which pages to refresh? I'm also curious, like, how long do you wait? Like, if you're like, oh, it's a bad month, let's check it next month, or you're like, oh shit, it's been a week, we need to fix this now, you know?
No, we definitely don't action it first. So as soon as we know there's an update, we'll put our little marker in Google annotations, and then we'll wait until it's finished, put another marker in there. And then if we haven't seen any major changes or impacts, then we won't really touch it until like our next regular monthly rhythm. But to be honest, in our like niche in our market, we're not ever really heavily impacted. I think the only time that we were really impacted was when I think this was back, oh man, a year or maybe 2 years ago now, when mobile started being like front and center of everything. And then that's where we started to see impact. But yeah, like 73% of our users come in on desktop. So we're not about to optimize the whole website for mobile when that's not our audience. So yeah. but that's it.
Eric, were you going to say something? Okay, well, I thought I saw you unmute. Well, I can't believe we haven't talked about this yet, but like next time, let's start it off with goals. What are the goals that you have set for SEO? Like, what are you trying to accomplish?
Get everyone to think about SEO all the time as well. No.
You're like, my qualitative goal is.
That would be like a dream scenario. But no, essentially what we're aiming to do is bring in relevant organic traffic, which will then convert into a lead. That's essentially our goal. And we measure a lot of this with revenue. So that's a big KPI that we'll measure. So revenue and yeah, SAOs. I'm not sure if everyone calls them the same, but
Like a sales accepted opportunity.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah.
And are you tracking like organic sourced sales accepted opportunities and also organic sourced revenue? Are you held to those things, or is it more of like a marketing team has goals?
yeah, so we're actually in the middle of revising our marketing KPIs. Before we would kind of look at both, but only be held to the organic sourced ones. But it's such a tricky topic nowadays, right? Because everything is connected. So it's
Mhm.
very difficult to say what is impacting what in a way. Like our direct traffic has gone through the roof, but I'm sure that's a combination of all of our channels working together to make that happen. So who gets the direct benefits? Yeah, it's hard to
Mhm.
say.
Direct in particular is a hard one because you're like, is that word of mouth? Is that someone who saw a paid ad and then converted? Like, it's really hard to say.
Yeah, yeah. My favorite theory is like they read that blog and then told their colleague about it, and then their colleague
Yeah.
looked it up and found us directly. But yeah, you never know.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, like the forwarded emails thing where it's like, oh, this person requested a demo, but wait, we were emailing this person at this account. And then you're like Sherlock Holmes, like trying to find like what was the original source.
Yes. Oh my
It's so
gosh.
good.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
Chantal,
Okay.
one thing that we've been doing lately is tracking all of the different touch points of someone between when they first find us and when they become a prospect. And I think that's been helpful for us to see like where our prospects finding or spending a lot of their time. What's
Mhm.
like some common themes that we're seeing with
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
I'm,
super interesting. Oh, go ahead, Camille.
oh no, I was just gonna say I'm curious, like what touch points do y'all track?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great question. So we do a few different things. One is that we are like using campaigns in HubSpot to see like, okay, like all like the primary source of the lead is one thing, but then we can also see like what actions did they take over time. And what I was going to say first is like, it's been really interesting to see kind of the journey of Demandwell because I was the first marketer at the company. And like in the early days, it's like, well, we've only been around for 6 months. So like every lead, their direct source is like also how they like requested a demo. But now it's like some leads we've been working for like a year and a half. And so they have done all of these things with us. And so there's often like maybe they came in through paid ads a year ago or organic a year ago, and they didn't actually take a demo at that time. But then we're seeing in HubSpot, like, okay, they've been in our email nurture program. They've looked at all of these pages. They converted on this campaign, blah, blah, blah. And then finally they requested a demo and they finally took the demo and they became an opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what is it like for you? Oh,
Yeah, pretty similar to be honest, but we don't use HubSpot. We use Marketo and Marketo and then Power BI, and we kind of have an attribution model that was set up between those two programs, and our CRM. And We're actually also in the middle of redoing this process because, yeah, just so much has changed in the last year, especially in the way people, yeah, purchase online and have experiences online. So, yeah, you also need to think about how you want to measure their journey. So,
Mhm.
yeah, but we pretty much like have like first touch point, and then
Yeah.
um, based on what they would do, we attribute like, yeah, different points to it. And then
Mhm.
that's kind of how you can see which channels had the most impact, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, we would also do, oh man, lead creation as a touch point. So as soon as
Yeah.
they became a lead,
Mhm.
and opportunity creation as well.
Mhm.
But yeah, we're redoing it, so
Yeah.
it's fun.
Will the update impact your goals?
Um, yes and no. So I was tracking SAOs before, and I'll track them again, but our funnel has kind of shifted. So we're way more close to the business development representatives and sales now. So we have a lot more communication, and we're working more closely together with them. Um, so yeah, it hasn't really changed much what I do though, to be honest.
Mhm. We have a great question from Philippa, the VIP of this chat today. While on the topic of lead generation, what are some of your favorite methods to generate leads from content? Great question.
Original research. I love original research, and yeah, you get so much out of these types of assets. Like we
Mhm.
got
Like a
so,
downloadable report.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like where
Mhm.
we would conduct a survey with like 1,200 of our customers to like find out what they really want in an e-commerce experience, for example. And yeah, you can just do so much with this research. And yeah, it just is so valuable. Also for SEO, because some of the best ranking content and content that brought in the most leads all came from like our original research. So I would say that's very valuable. Yeah.
It kind of makes sense that it would rank better if you just think about how like Google is trying to award expertise, and depth and all this stuff. And that's like the exact definition of your company's specific singular expertise and action.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's great. I never thought about it like that.
Yeah. And you can use the research in like blogs for a year
Mhm.
after, like,
Yeah.
50% of
Chunk it up.
manufacturers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. So yeah.
Mhm. That's so great. Um, okay. So then on the flip side of that, like, has there been anything that you've tried that hasn't worked at all that you've been like, glad we tested that, but never again?
Oh man, not particularly. Like, I think everything's always in progress, especially with SEO. So, sometimes you don't know if something's going to work until like 6 months later, and then you start seeing it rank and pulling in random keywords that you never thought you could rank for. And you're like, whoa, we did something right. So there's not like one thing that stands out. But I will say, like, thought leadership content, I always, as an SEO, grapple with because it doesn't necessarily rank, but yeah, you can't really measure the value of it, but it's important. So if that makes sense. But yeah,
It totally
that's
does. And our perspective on that is like, just don't even expect the thought leadership to rank. We're kind of like, this is its own special kind of thing, you know?
yeah, yeah.
But then
But
occasionally something will, and you're like, okay, I guess that's fine.
yeah, and like sometimes thought leadership content just needs to live on the website, but it also lives in so many different places. Like
Mhm.
we also do podcasts and videos and social posts, and a lot of that comes from thought leadership.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's also the value of it as well.
Yeah, totally. Like that's the stuff that you pay to distribute and that's like what your sales team is sharing with prospects and all this stuff. Like it has incredible value. The
Yeah.
value is just not always to drive explicit SEO or explicit revenue from organic.
Exactly.
We
But
also repurpose our blog content as content downloads on
Mhm.
a lot of our SEO content.
wait, can you give
Yeah.
an example? So like,
So we have a blog post about not just driving traffic, but creating conversions from organic. And we have that as a content download on a lot of our SEO strategy pages.
interesting. So like a PDF, like downloadable version.
Mhm.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, we've started a combi method where we have an ungated version and a gated version of content. And yeah, the ungated version pulls in the traffic and, gets people engaged. But then on the off chance that someone, wants the gated version or a hard copy, we offer that to them. But we can also use that in paid if they want to use a gated version. So yeah, we like the combi method. We just started it, so we haven't seen too much happening from it yet. Everything we have used to be gated pretty much,
Mhm.
except for some like top of funnel blogs. But now we've kind of ungated everything. So we have like way more full funnel of ungated content on the website to be found.
Yeah, it's a really hard hurdle to get over because you're like, oh, what if someone on LinkedIn who downloads this PDF like comes to our website and sees that it's also a blog post? But I think it's just like so important to remember that like no one knows what's on your website as well as you do. And like the chances that someone is gonna see both is just so low, actually. Like no one does a full audit of the site. That would be insane.
Unless maybe they're an SEO.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but yeah, and I always think if the quality is good enough, they won't care. Like if it's really good
Mhm.
quality, then they're not going to care because yeah, well, at least in my head, I'm like, they want to share all the good quality content. So it makes sense, but yeah, maybe that's just my marketing brain. But yeah.
Totally.
Um,
Well, I want to just encourage people, if you have any questions for Camille, we have 20 more minutes, so please ask them. She is a well of knowledge and now's your
there-
chance.
There's another thing I want to mention about
Okay.
videos because
Oh,
that's
fantastic.
something that we've been starting a lot lately. So we've been creating a lot of videos, and we don't just want them to like sit in our, internal library, and we don't just want them to sit on YouTube and Vimeo. So we've been making pages for them in the website. So now you can also find all of our videos on our website as well. So and they rank, by the way. So
Okay. How are you making them rank? Because this is a thing that we have not quite figured out ourselves.
to be honest, I don't know. I just put the keyword in the header and title tag and meta description. And
Okay.
I think maybe it's just that in our market, there's not a lot of video content being produced.
Mm.
So I think that that could be a reason why we're able to rank. And yeah, the keywords are quite low competition and niche. So that could also be a factor.
So
But
there's
yeah.
there's not really a lot of like SEO copy on the page under the video or anything like that.
No, not really. We just have one paragraph. So I think they're
Uh-huh.
about 400, 500 words on the page. And
Oh,
then
cool.
the rest is video. But we do optimize
Wow.
like the video for SEO. So we pull it in from YouTube. And then there, of course, you've got the title and the description and all that.
Okay, wait, can you say more about what? I just don't know anything about this, so forgive me if I'm asking like a super basic question, but when you say you optimize the video for SEO, does that mean that the title of the video is intentional in terms of like keyword, or are you doing some like magical title tag something like
No.
Can you say more about that?
Yeah, no, it's like the same SEO principles that you would use on your website, but then for video. So just making sure that the video title has the keyword in it and that the description is optimized like a meta. So,
Okay, so
yeah.
then the thing that ranks is the YouTube video, or is it
Um,
the link on your site?
yeah, so we have both. It depends
Mhm.
sometimes on
Yeah.
the keyword. So
Mhm.
yeah, but
That's
sometimes
terrific.
sometimes I wonder about like the user journey of coming in from
Mhm.
the SERP to a video that's on a website and not in like a video platform like YouTube, because sometimes I feel like the user expectation is that they'll be taken to like YouTube and then
YouTube.
instead they're taken to a website. So sometimes I wonder if that would impact the user experience, but we haven't seen much to back that theory up.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. We recently did this transition where, and this is, I think, pretty technical, but like we used to host everything on YouTube and then we would use the YouTube link to embed it in our page, which I was kind of like, this must be good for supporting the YouTube video because then it gets views any number of places, but it counts the number of plays on YouTube. So like that must be worth something. But we had to change it so that they're now embedded on the site. So you can't even see like an additional video afterwards, which to your point, I wonder like if it's a YouTube embed, you can like see the other videos created by the company and, things like that. And it's more of like more of the video experience that you expect these days.
Yeah, that's actually a good point that I haven't thought about too much either, but interesting. Yeah. But you see it as like a downside of having it embedded directly on your site, that
I'm
there's no,
concerned that it is, and I don't
yeah,
know yet, but I'm sort of like, oh, I hope this goes okay because it was part of um a larger website update that we had to make for like other SEO reasons. So
yeah. Yeah, interesting, because we're also now working on switching, embedding YouTube to Vimeo instead to make it an in-house video player. And for that, you can only use like a specific link within Vimeo. So I'm wondering if that will also impact us. Good question.
mhm. Philippa
Yeah.
has an amazing point, which is if the audience doesn't pay for premium, they'll get ads on YouTube, which is horrible, which is so true.
Yeah.
If I see one more VRBO ad, I'm gonna pull my hair out. Oh, they're
Oh,
really targeting me. Okay. I am curious about, oh my God, Melinda, I'm so sorry. Devenel has taken over my YouTube ads. I didn't even tweet. Anyway, I'm like, what YouTube ads do we have running? I'm so sorry.
We have a couple.
Eric knows. Okay, cool. Someone knows. Um, I'm curious, Camille, in your time at your current role and also like previously, um, what is some advice that you have for people um in the inbound marketing role or in an SEO position?
good question. Um, I think my first piece of advice would be to get buy-in from everyone and like be fully prepared to constantly advocate for SEO, because I don't know about everyone else, but I'm one of the only SEO focused people in my organization in the marketing team. And yeah, a lot of my job is just getting people on board, explaining why this is important, explaining how it's going to impact us in the long term, explaining that you're not going to see your results in a month and maybe even 3 months. And yeah, so I think getting buy-in and really educating your team on what you're doing and why it's important. I think that's a big part of it. And I would say that another part of it would be, yeah, share as much as you can, even if you don't feel like people care that much. Like share a monthly report, do it every single month, and stress what you've done well and what's not going well, and the impacts, and show your results. And I also share good news and successes regularly. So like almost on a weekly basis, I share like, hey, we optimized this blog last week. We already see it jump up like 20 positions and the CTR doubled. Congrats, everyone, that sort of thing. So just
Yeah.
like, yeah, get people on board and excited about it because, yeah, I feel like SEO gets a bad rap sometimes because it's not like cutting edge and paid and results every week or something like that. So people
Yeah,
get
it's
bored.
very high effort and technical.
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest issue is that it's incredibly misunderstood. And Danielle just chatted in, buying is incredibly difficult. They're at a startup and it's been a huge challenge. And I think luckily we're in a position where like everyone in our company understands SEO. And so it's okay if it takes a long time to drive results for us, but it's just not a lot of people really know about it. And so, what are you doing to help people understand? Like you mentioned you're sharing information constantly, but like there's a ton of education involved, right?
Yeah, I have one-on-ones set up with like important stakeholders. And sorry, I'm going to take time to read the comment because I love it about this topic. Yeah, I do this too. Exactly. I have Philippa is saying that she shares SEO highlights weekly with the writers and it gets them to show a lot more interest. I do the exact same thing. I'm in their content chat. And if anyone's helped me out on a blog or written a blog or been involved in a big project, I'll share results with them. And I'm like, guys, look, you're making a huge impact and really helping because they are. And yeah, I wouldn't be able to do my job without them. So showing a lot of appreciation as well. But outside of content, I also have regular meetings set up with important stakeholders. So with the product marketing team, with the customer marketing team, I'm saying team, but it's typically just like one person and we'll have like a one-on-one where I go through like how their role impacts SEO. And if anything has come up in an audit or something where like we can't really rank for this keyword because it's more for a referral platform, I'll walk them through why we need to try and increase our position in that listing, like that sort of thing. So it's all a lot of consulting, a lot of education. Yeah.
Yeah. How much does your boss know about SEO? Do you feel like that's someone that's like helping you or that you have to educate?
No, they know a lot and they know the right questions to ask and enough to be like a sparring partner. So I think I'm quite lucky there actually. And our CMO is also quite knowledgeable on it. So
Mm-hmm.
he understands the value of it. But yeah, it's mainly like we're all so busy. So it's mainly just keeping it top of mind with the whole team about
Mm-hmm.
yeah, how their
Mm-hmm.
roles are impacting the SEO.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Eric, how's your boss?
Doing great.
The worst. Cool. I'm just looking through our notes, Camille. I'm trying to like see if there's anything that we haven't discussed yet.
Yeah, I'm also trying to think if there's anything else to talk about. I'm curious if anyone else or if you guys have your SEO strategy split up in kind of like the way I do. So like with an always on part that you always
Mm-hmm.
do, and then a more like project based aspect. Like, is that how y'all tend to get things done or?
I think that the way that I'm approaching SEO, there's been a lot of projects lately. I think in the past, it's been more regular work, but we did a website migration in February, and that just dominated my time in February. And then we did a big internal linking project where we set up a related articles section on a lot of our SEO content pages. And that took a lot of time too. So there are some of these bigger projects. And now that the website migration is done, we're kind of in this like regular maintenance mode with our website. And then the same thing's going to be true with internal linking is that's going to be more just like regular cadence with our publishing, where we
Yeah.
publish new content, get the link set up. So yeah, it's a bit of both. There's definitely
Mhm.
some, I wouldn't call them surprises, but some things that come up where it's just going to be a big project that's going to take a lot of your time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think initially too, we were kind of like, as such a young company, we had so much content to create that like we didn't have an existing, library of pages. So we were really focused on just like putting our heads down and like knocking out a bunch of content. And it was just like anything that we could create, we were like trying to. And now we're more of in a position where we're starting to look back and think about re-optimizing and things like that.
Yeah.
To rank. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I'm also curious, how often do y'all, well, maybe you're like going to start doing that, but like how often do you run an audit? Like not just a technical audit, but also like, yeah, content audit. Like, do y'all do that pretty regularly or?
We probably end up doing it like twice a year. It's probably not enough. Because I know you're doing it every single month, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Not a full audit, mind you, but just like for important differences month to month. So,
We
Oh,
do
interesting.
full technical audits probably 3 or 4 times a year. We'll
yeah,
do a keyword refresh, we call it, where we like reprioritize keywords and change some of the keywords that we're targeting. We'll do a keyword refresh probably 2 to 3 times a year.
oh wow.
Well, we've also been pivoting our messaging quite a bit as our product's evolving and as the company's evolving. So we probably do more keyword refreshes than would normally be called for. And as far as like a content audit, I'd say that I did one back in February or March when I was planning some optimization work, just figuring out I want to target a bunch of pages. Which ones do I want to focus on? But we haven't really done like these monthly audits or these checks very frequently. But
Yeah.
we'll probably do more in the future, as that's going to be our focus is shifting for sure towards that direction.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rosie has a really good question about tracking optimization work. Is it just an Excel sheet or is there a better way?
Yeah.
Eric, we
This,
definitely use a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
it's such a good question though. And I keep thinking like there needs to be a tool that can tackle this, because I think so many of us have this issue, and like SEMrush has tried to do something to make it work, but it's not really what you need, because like, I don't know, in SEMrush you've got like, yeah, I think it's in the on page SEO section, and you can like track everything, and you know, it does its best, but it's not enough. And yeah, essentially I track it in Excel, and I always leave an annotation in Google. So that way, when I'm going back to analyze, I can make sure I know exactly when the page was changed. And I also set up alerts in our project management tool. So monday.com is what we're using now. And I'll set in an alert for like a month to check back up on any page that was like a hefty optimization. But that's it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I wish that there was a better way.
Yeah, I have quite a big spreadsheet as well, bunch of different tabs. I'll maybe need to talk to Sam, our CTO, about this. See
Y'all
if there's
should,
any ideas for the future.
you should 100% try to work this into Demandwell.
We have one more comment from Philippa. Phrase. Don't know how recent the feature is, but if you connect it to Google Search Console, you'll see real time which pages could use an optimization. Oh, interesting.
That's so interesting. I haven't seen that.
Huh. Good to know.
Interesting.
And that specifically helps you understand like when something needs to change.
Interesting.
That's cool. Very helpful.
Yeah.
Cool.
I have one last topic that I was
Mm-hmm.
curious to pick your brains about, but it's regarding aftercare. So after you publish something, what does your
Mhm.
aftercare look like in
I'm
terms of like
curious.
distribution or something like that?
Yeah. I'd love to hear what people in the chat have to say about this as well. By aftercare, you just mean like, are you referring to sort of like the upkeep of the page and the rewriting of the page, or like I guess you said distribution, like getting it out into the wild?
Yeah, so we have like an aftercare checklist. So it's like
Mhm.
one social post
I
and
see.
going back and finding at least like 5 relevant pages where you can link your new page or your optimized
Mhm.
page. And like, yeah, adding things to your Excels and SEMrush. And like, does everyone have like a checklist that they go through after something is published, or does that lie with like the content people? Or yeah, curious.
Yeah, our answer is different for thought leadership content and SEO content, I would say. And the thought leadership content is the thing that like gets published on social, might be shared to our email lists, like could become a paid ad, et cetera, et cetera. And it differs by piece of content. And we also have like different levels of promotion based on if it's a product feature launch related. We have like a top priority feature launch, which gets the works, it gets PR, it gets everything. And then there's like the lower level stuff that's like just send a message to people in the platform when they log in, so there's a range there.
Yeah.
And then Eric, I'll let you speak to the SEO pages because that's also changing with internal links and things.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the chat and I like Melinda's answer.
Yeah,
Some questions.
exactly.
I mean, I do have a mental checklist. I used to have like a written checklist, but I've published enough that it's title tag, meta description, get the content published, get internal links set up now that we have that project wrapped up, and then we don't really spend time optimizing like the user experience of a page until it starts to rank.
Yeah.
Until it's getting like on page 2,
Mhm.
up on page 1, starting to get impressions and some clicks. That's when we're going into a page and optimizing it. But
Yeah.
And
it's
yeah,
mainly
and then it's
publish
like,
and cross your fingers.
yeah. And at that point too, it's less of a checklist and more of like we look at the page and we're like, okay, what does this page require? Kind
Yeah.
of like how you described how you think about optimization, Camille, based on like what you see happening. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Because I was going to
Cool.
mention, it's another good way to
Mhm.
get buy-in if after you publish anything, you also send it out internally. So we
Oh
have
yeah.
like a company-wide, not chat, but like channel in Teams. And a lot of times if there's like relevant content for the whole company or specific departments, we'll send it directly to them. And we're like, sales, look, we made this blog. We think it'll really help you use it. And then that can also help it to, get some movement.
Totally. It's such a good point. Like as marketers, I feel like we so often forget that the internal audience is an important audience, like as much as prospects and even customers are, it's like if the company doesn't know what you're doing, then you're missing out on a lot. So that's such a good point.
Yeah.
Well, we're at time. Thank you so much, Camille. This was really fun for us. And I think a smashing success for our first Sustainable Growth Weekly community member presenter. So thank you so much for being the first and for bearing with us.
Of course, it was really fun. Thanks for having me. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the next one.
Awesome.
And
See you soon.
see you
Thanks
soon.
everyone in the chat. Bye.
Bye, everyone.